What am I supposed to do? This is a question that is always before us. I'm sure for all of us, as far back as we can remember, we ask ourselves this question in so many different situations. When we are young, we say that as we're learning so many new things. As adults, it becomes part of a deeper inquiry. What career will I choose, or what vocation am I called to? Later in life, as many important decisions continue to be presented to us, of course, the question, what am I supposed to do, implies and demands there must be a goal that we are searching for, that all of our decisions are meant to lead us. And of course, this goal is the desire for each and every one of us to be happy. We make all of our decisions with the intention that they will lead us to happiness, to do what we think is best for ourselves and for those whom we love. It's the essence of the moral life, how you and I are to make decisions each day that will lead us to true happiness in choosing to do good and to avoid evil. And it's the focus on this third Sunday of Advent, again, as we said at the beginning of Mass, Gaudete Sunday. What are we supposed to do so that we will be able to rejoice and know the very happiness of God? It's the question posed to John the Baptist in our gospel today. We pick up in the Gospel of St. Luke where we left off last week, and now great crowds are coming to John, and he challenges them for their complacency and their laziness in living out the call that God has given to them. And so they ask him, what should we do? He tells them to treat one another with love and respect. To the crowds, he tells them to be generous, sharing with one another all they have. To the tax collectors known for extorting and charging too much for the tax, he says, stop doing that. To the soldiers, he tells them to stop demanding bribes from the people. What am I supposed to do? We all know the answer that is given to us. We are called to love God with our whole heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. We know this, but we can forget it so quickly. There are so many demands upon us. There are so many conflicting voices we hear. We can so easily succumb to the temptations to fear or worry and to seek our own selfish desires and our perceived needs. And when we do that, we only end up wallowing in sadness. In our first reading, the prophet Zephaniah, he's reflecting upon that situation in his own time. We think he's writing about the year 630 BC to the people in the southern kingdom who are generally enjoying peace and prosperity, but they are failing in their responsibility to follow the covenant that God has given to them. He warns in the first 2 chapters of his book that if they do not reform their lives, devastation will come to them as a nation, and it will eventually come in 587 BC when Jerusalem is destroyed and overthrown. But he quickly adds, we pick up in chapter 3 today, that God will eventually save them from that devastation and from all types of devastation, that they are to be glad and exalt with all their heart, for God will renew them in his love. This is meant to give the people great comfort, and it's meant to give each of us the same comfort, because we know we fail to live out fully the life that God calls us to. And we're warned by the prophetic voice of Christ and his church that when we continue in sin, then we'll be faced with a personal devastation that will always accompany sin. But then we are told of the reconciliation offered to us in Christ. So here it is, the clear answer to that question that we always pose to ourselves. What am I supposed to do? First, to do good and avoid evil. And again, to strive to love God with our whole heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourself. But then there is a second part to what we are called to do, and I think it's even of greater importance. Because when we fail to do that, we are not to despair, because God will always come to forgive us, to heal us, and to give us his peace. In our second reading, St. Paul summarizes what will happen if we do this. We will then rejoice in the Lord always. We will have no anxiety at all. We will give thanks to the Lord in everything, so that the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, will be ours. We all want this, don't we? Today we are told how we can achieve it, or to put it more correctly, how God, in his mercy and in his grace, may achieve it in each of us.